Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game Bread, which is kind of a late-stage prototype from a designer, Zoe, that I shared a video with recently about competitive games with the potential for multiple winners, which is the case in this game Bread. The basic thematic idea is that you are all sharing a land mass, not a specific place, but a place of land that you're sharing, and you have a tableau of cards that you are growing over the course of the game. You can grow your tableau, you can grow other players' tableaus, and you are trying to address the unrest in the area. So you have, and you're doing that with Bread. That is the name of the game. I had played it with 3 players just a few minutes ago, actually, and we all lost because at the end of the game, all players who have gotten rid of all unrest in their tableau win, and everyone else will lose. There's a lot of interaction in the game in that whenever you draw a card, or whenever you gain a card, or you can gain that card, or you can have another player gain that card. You can't look at it, but you give it to another player. You can also, whenever you build cards, you can build them in your own tableau, or you can build them in other players' tableaus. So what I found about the game that was really interesting, and here's what some of the cards look like. I'll talk about the action system in a second, but just a few cards with different icons on them. What I found was particularly interesting is that this is an equal parts a take that game as it is a neutral game, as it is a cooperative game where you're helping each other, and it's entirely up to how the players want to address that. Because if I happen to be getting with I guess the take that side of it, I can give other players unrest cards for my hand if I want, and that will make it more difficult for them to win. I can also, there's ways to discard cards, so I can make sure those unrest cards never even come into play, or I can play those unrest cards into my tableau if I'm very good at, if I just happen to have Bread and I'm getting Bread, I can spend Bread to get rid of that unrest. So I can, there's like these, it really is equal parts. I can hurt other players, I can kind of keep things the same by discarding cards, or I can really try to help other players who maybe have more unrest than I do, and we can all try to win together. And an example of this, I think that might help illustrate it, is that at the very beginning of our game, we were kind of stumbling through the first few turns, learning how the game plays. One of the players put a wall in one of the other players' tableaus, and the wall makes it more difficult for that player to send things out to other players or to receive things from other players. So even this wall was equal parts take that and cooperative, or not even cooperative, but it prevented take that from other players. And that player then, kind of in retaliation, put a wall on that other player. And so for the rest of the game, I had no walls. Those 2 players had walls. And so it meant that it was very easy for me, whenever I gained cards, to play them for myself and to gain them for myself. But it became much harder for me to play cards for those other players. It's just mechanically harder to do that because I had to get through those walls. Created some very interesting interactions for the rest of the game. And all of us lost. We all lost. I will mention, and so all of that is very interesting. That is my favorite overall mechanism of the game, that has its equal parts take that, neutral, and cooperative. One other thing I want to mention, though, because I really like this action system, you've seen it in Keyforge before if you've played Keyforge, is that on your turn there are a few actions that you can take. The main ones being, in fact, I never really took the third action, displace. I did never take displace. Displace is a strictly mean action. But there is the build action and the gather action. This is how you get more cards into someone's tableau or into someone's hand, and this is how you get cards into your tableau. And the action system is on your turn, you pick one of these actions, and you get that action the number of times that icon appears in your tableau. And so as you get more unrest icons, that action gets more powerful. As you get more build icons, the build action becomes more powerful. Same with drawing cards. That action, or gaining cards to hand, that action becomes more powerful the more of those you have in your tableau. So nice sense of progression, and I really just like that action system of saying, this is my action for the turn. I will use X number of action points for that based on the number of icons that appear in my tableau. So yeah, really interesting systems in this game, Bread. Some really interesting interactions, and those are my thoughts on it. So if you have any thoughts on a game that you can think of that shares anything like this, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks.